Hey everybody. Well, finally, I got a model kit that I've been wanting to get for a long time. Now this is a life-size replica of Nomad, the cool robotic probe that we saw in Star Trek, the original series. And it was from a season 2 episode, I think it was episode 3, called The Changeling, which is one of my favorite episodes. It's one of those Kirk versus the computer type of episodes, which I always loved. So Nomad was actually a probe that had crashed into another, I think it was an alien probe, and it got its programming all screwed up. And instead of sterilizing soil samples, it now wants to sterilize human beings, anything that wasn't perfect. And so then we find out that it's going to head back to launch point, which was Earth, and now they need to stop Nomad from getting back to Earth because now it's going to kill off every human since it's now sterilizing everything that's imperfect. It's a really cool episode, and Kirk has to outwit Nomad at the very end, and it's a really neat climactic part of the episode. So this is a 3D printed kit, and you know, I'm not usually very big on 3D printed stuff just because of the print lines on a lot of this stuff, but I have to say this particular kit is really well done. I mean, it's the print lines are very minor, and they're not very thick, you know, they don't show up really bad. And, you know, overall, this whole thing is really, really well done. Now, looking at the parts here, this is the bottom. And you can see it says sensor there. I think it's made for some kind of a sensor for the lights, which I'll show you here in a minute. But you can see the detail on this is really well done for a 3D printed thing. Well, 3D printing is actually pretty good. I mean, it does a really good job of bringing out details. And it's really, you know, very well done on this kit. Now, I don't know exactly how accurate this is. I've looked at some of the details on Nomad, especially these kinds of things, all these greeblies, and these look pretty close to what Nomad has, if not exact. I'm not really sure, but these are all separate pieces. This kit was already put together. It was already painted. All you got to do is stack the parts and put everything together. I got it off of eBay from a seller on eBay. And I didn't know that he actually sold two different versions of this. He actually sold another version where you actually glue on all of these parts, and I think you got to paint it yourself. And I would have gone for that one, but I didn't know that he made that version of the kit until after I already got this one. And so it was kind of too late because it would have saved me about $100. And yeah, this was not a cheap kit, by the way. We'll discuss that later. But anyway, just want to show you some more of these parts. Now, you can see how the inside, you know, has that kind of 3D printed line thing, but he did a really good job cleaning this up out here. I don't know if he used filler primer on this, but you know, it actually looks good. I mean, there's not, the lines aren't really visible. This thing here is really cool too. This is and there's actually lights in this, and I'll show you that in just a second. This is the top part of Nomad. This is where he has those phasers that shoot out, and he ends up killing, I think, 4 security guards in that episode. The paint job he did on this is really, really good. I mean, that's got a nice chrome finish on there. And then also the color that he chose for the gray on here, I think it's pretty spot on. Here's the bottom section of Nomad. There's a little bit of a detail right there, which looks really good. This, by the way, has magnets in it. And that connects to these magnets on this part that I just showed you. So that way you know you got them in the right orientation, which is really cool. This is the head of Nomad. This is a really nice piece. You got the antennas up here. I'm going to have to do a little modification on those. There's that greebly that's on the side, and those are the little side details. This part is going to go down inside, so you're not really going to see the bottom part of that anyway. But this looks really good. You can see the antennas on there. They'll actually extend. They actually do extend, which is really neat, because in the episode, we saw that Nomad was scanning Uhura. I will say that in the case of this model, the 3D print lines on here actually work very nice, because on the original Nomad prop, the sides of Nomad were actually sheet metal. That's what they used. And I'm not sure what they used for these side bits, but it was sheet metal on here. And it's funny because if you watch the episode, you can see fingerprints all over Nomad where the the prop guys were touching him all the time. And the only person that really touched him in the episode was Mr. Spock. So he really shouldn't have all those fingerprints on it. So it's kind of funny how, you know, you can see all that. But you can see that they actually work fine here. I mean, yes, they are there, but it does kind of give it a sheet metal kind of look. I thought that was going to bother me, but actually, no, I'm fine with it. So on the inside here, you can see that they already have the yellow, red, and green clear lenses that go on the holes right there. There's plenty of room in here for lighting and speakers and circuitry and everything else. And on the show, these lights here, they kind of blinked in a random pattern. There's like 5 different light bulbs in there. And they probably used the same blinker bulbs that the Lost in Space robot used back in the day. And then when Nomad would talk, this yellow and red light would blink and sync with the voice when the Nomad talked, just like kind of the robot from Lost in Space as well. So I'm going to see if I can get a light circuit that can do all of that. So here is that top piece I was showing you earlier. And this is really cool. Now I got the lights on already, and my big lights are probably drowning this out. So let me kill the lights real quick so you can kind of see it. All right, so here you can see this is lit up. So this is what it looks like when it's not lit. So it's nice that it comes with this little light module that he put inside there. And so, you know, I'm probably not going to leave these on because these only lit up in the episode when Nomad was shooting at people, when he killed the 4 red shirts, the red shirts that always seem to die in every episode. Those poor red shirts. But anyway, this is really cool. I'm glad that he kind of added this feature to it. So it's really nice. And the other thing that's really cool is he also gives you extra batteries for that. I think that uses... maybe it uses 2 batteries in there. And the other thing I forgot to show you was the little top piece. Now here, let me turn the lights back on, because I want to show you how nice this is. This almost looks like it's made of metal. It's printed so well. And whatever paint he used on here is really nice. It's got a really nice chrome look to it. But that's going to go right up here. And that is going to be the top of Nomad's head. We always saw that kind of thing on there. So that looks really, really good. I actually am really impressed by the quality of this. So it looks like the only thing that I'm going to have to modify is I noticed that on these little antennas that stick out, so they do extend like I showed you. But if you watch the show, there's actually a little dish on the end of these. It's like a little radar dish. And this didn't have that on there. Not sure why he didn't include it, because everything else is absolutely spot on. But it's a real easy fix. So once again, we got the old googly eyes to the rescue. So what I did is I took these googly eyes and I cut off the dome that's on the top, the clear dome. And what you have left is this little bit right here. So I don't know, let me see if I can zoom in on it. Okay, so here's what it looks like when you just cut the clear top part of it off. You just want the dome part of it to make it look like that dish. And then I just sanded down the edges here because, you know, it's got a rough cut on there. I just used an X-Acto blade to cut this off, sanded it down to make it smooth and more even. And then I marked it, I don't know if you can see it, I got an X right in here so that I could find the center. And I just took the X-Acto blade and just kind of gouged a hole through it. And then I put this little split in here. I don't know if you can see. It's hard to see now. I put a split in here. And that is so that I can wrap it around this thing. I'm just going to push it right on there, and there we go. So I'm just going to paint this silver, and then I'll glue it on there. I'll just probably use some Gorilla Glue on there, probably glue that little cut, and then there you go. You got yourself the little dish that's on the end. So once that's on there, it may be a little soft when you're trying to pull that out of there, so you're going to have to be really careful if you decide to pull the antenna out, but it's not like I'm really going to be pulling those out a whole lot, so I'll have to see how that works. But if that doesn't work, then I'll go to Hobby Lobby tomorrow and look around and see what I can find. But I think that's going to be a decent way to solve that problem. All right, so there they are. So I think that's going to work out just fine. Those actually look just like the original, and they're about the right size too, so it's really good. So you can see it's on all of the sides here. Let's see if I can turn this around. Here's the one on this side as well. So yeah, I mean, that looks great. I mean, you know, nobody's going to know what those are. And it was the only way I could figure out how to get it around the tip of the antenna there, because there's no way you can actually, you know, do it unless you put a split in there. And the split's very, you know, very minor. I mean, you have a hard time seeing it, but these will push down in here now. So it looks like it's supposed to on Nomad's head now. So yeah, that looks really good. Pretty simple and easy fix, and another good use of googly eyes. Okay, so apologies if the volume suddenly got louder. I'm using a different microphone now because the other one didn't work very well. So anyway, this part here, I'm not going to talk about this part too much. This is the light cord that the model came with, and I'm not really going to use this, so that's why I'm not really going to talk about it too much. But it does come with this control box. When you turn it on, it has a sensor, so it's reacting to my voice right now. It's got a sensor right up here. And so the reason I'm not going to use this is because although it does work, you know, where Nomad would talk and the lights would flash, you still have the green vent lights that blink, you know, randomly. So you can have a random blinking pattern with this because it's got all kinds of different settings like that. But you can't have both. You can't have the random blinking lights and you can't have the voice activated ones. So besides that, I'm having a custom-made lighting kit for this. So yeah, I won't be using this, and this one also does come with a remote. But, you know, I suppose this would be okay to use in a pinch. Okay, it is now 5 months later. It's 5 months now since I started filming this video. I've had a heck of a time trying to get some electronics for this thing. So the original person that was working on this, the circuit for me, I'm not sure what happened. I think he's still working on it, but I don't know. He's made some stuff for me in the past, and I did tell him he could take his time, but I think maybe he took it a little too literal. In the meantime, thank goodness, I got in contact with a gentleman named Brian. Brian, oh my gosh, he is my hero. He is my hero. I'm not lying. He has really stepped up to the plate and came up with this amazing and awesome electrical circuit. I mean, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I don't know how to do any of it, and he came up with this wonderful system. This is going to be fantastic. So this is actually a light box. And you can see here, you got the LEDs on the side of the box right here. And then it's on all four sides. And then he's got these dowels that go through here, and there's going to be this one that goes through this side. And then he made them purposely long so I can cut them and make it fit inside the square area of Nomad. This is going to go near the top where the yellow and the red vents are. So when he talks, these are going to blink in sync with his voice. This piece here, these are all like Adafruit, I think is something like that, and then this is the Arduino circuit, so I don't know how all of this works. This here is actually the microphone. Look at this intense piece right here. This is going to have to be placed somewhere near the speaker right here, where Nomad's voice is going to come out, and then the speaker will pick up the voice and then activate the lights in sync with his voice. So I'm going to have to figure out, you know, what the distance to put this from the speaker, and then that way I can try to get the lighting right. If I put this too close, the lights are just going to stay lit. So I need to put it at just the right distance to make it blink in sync with his voice. This right here, thankfully, is a volume control, so you can just stick a screwdriver in there and then adjust the volume. So that'll be nice. And it's a pretty loud thing, too. I'm not going to have it turned up that loud. And let's see, what else now? Okay, so there's so much here. This is so cool. So here's the button. Then I'm just going to hit the button for every voice track. There's going to be 10 voice tracks on here. I'm not sure which circuit board has the voice tracks, but he put 10 of them in there, and then we discovered there was actually a little more time on each track, so he made the voice tracks even longer. So it's really cool. I was really grateful that he was able to add even more stuff. And you should see what he put on there. It's fantastic, and especially the end. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to wait till I put it all in and install it so you can hear how all of it works. Now this thing works by a battery pack. You got this really nice rechargeable battery pack, and it's going to plug in, and then he also gave me, let's see, well, I don't have it up here, but he also gave me a plug-in that I can use to plug it directly into the wall. So if I don't want to use just batteries, he gave me the option to plug it into the wall too. So that was really nice. I mean, he's given me some options here, which is wonderful. So yeah, Brian has done an incredible job on this thing. Now this is really cool. This is the charger for the battery pack. You can see how it is right there. You just plug it in, and then it's got some kind of a temperature sensor right here. So you're going to tape this to the batteries, I guess, while you're charging it to make sure it doesn't get too hot. Probably has an automatic shut-off, I'm guessing. So yeah, so you know, I'm going to have to install everything in there so I can get the battery pack out, so I can pull this out when I need to charge it. And let's see, what else? Oh gosh, there's so much here. Okay, so this is really, really cool. And I've already tested it, so I'm going to let you hear the first voice track and let you see how this works, but I don't want to do the rest. I don't want to spoil it yet, so let me get it set up. Okay, so I got the battery hooked up now, and he does have an on-off switch, which is great, so I don't have to have this thing running all the time. So let's turn this on. Okay, and now you'll notice it's actually blinking when I talk, because the microphone's actually picking up my voice. So that should be close enough. So let me do the first voice, and you'll be able to see how this goes.
This is Nomad. My mission is non-hostile. Require communication. Can you leave your ship?
Oh God, that is so cool! This is so cool. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that Brian came up with this. This is fantastic. Brian, if you're watching, I cannot thank you enough for this. I really cannot. Okay, now I gotta figure out how all of this is gonna fit inside Nomad. So as for the green blinking lights in the green vents of Nomad, I'm just gonna use simple Christmas lights. Brian said that he could add the green blinking lights as well, but I feel like I already imposed on the poor guy enough to come up with this amazing piece of technology as it is. And I actually had these Christmas lights laying around, so I'm just going to use these. Now these, they have different things that you can do. I'm going to use number 2, in wave. So as I mentioned on Nomad, they had the old style blinker bulbs for the green vents because they just had random blinking lights. These are going to have more of a sequenced blink to them, and that's fine. But I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as they're just blinking. So they're just going to do this. So let me do number 2, and it's just going to be this kind of a blink, and then I think it slows down, and then it goes back to the other speed, and just goes back and forth. I kind of wish it would just stay at the slower speed right there. I think that would look more like it, but that's fine. And so there are 5 bulbs per vent on Nomad, so I'm going to end up using 20 of these, and then the rest I'll probably just cover with electric tape or something so there's no light bleed. Alright, so I went ahead and started with the green lights area. Those are all the Christmas lights now, and I glued them. The hot glue gun is going to get a workout in this. So I put 5 bulbs per vent, as you can see, and they're in the same pattern as the original Nomad. There's 1 in each corner and 1 in the center, and then you can see one right, this one here, and there. And then down there is the battery pack. I put a couple pieces of Velcro on the battery pack so I can take it out when I need to change the batteries. And then that big wad down there is the extra bulbs. So looking from the bottom now, so I just wrapped all of these extra bulbs in electric tape so I don't have a bunch of lights shining through there. You can see all the other bulbs in there. And then this is just Velcroed in so that if I need to take it out to change the batteries, I can just get it out of there. So it fits very nice in there. Alright, so that's how it's going to look with the lights blinking inside there on each side. It's kind of light in this room, so it's kind of drowning them out a little bit. The lights had to be pretty close to the actual edge, or like right up against the wall, because those holes for the grills are actually pretty deep. But it looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't have the exact same blinking pattern as the original Nomad, but then again, it didn't really have a pattern since it had those blinker bulbs, which, each bulb blinks at its own rate. But, the message comes across just fine with this. So yeah, that works good. Okay, so now I've installed the button to activate the voice. So it's right here. Now the reason I went ahead and chose that spot is because there was already a hole drilled into the side, and that hole was originally for the sensor. You can see right there it says sensor, for the original lights, for the remote control signal to go through. So rather than drill another hole, I just went ahead and used that one. I mean, yeah, I was thinking about putting it on the bottom of this, like underneath here, so you wouldn't see it all that much, but I really don't want to drill any more holes into this than I have to, and it's really not a big deal, so I think that's going to be just fine. And then I had to widen that hole, so I just used a rat tail file to widen it out, and then because that hole is so close to the bottom edge, I couldn't get the little nut to go on there, so I just hot glued it in place, and that's fine because you're pushing it this way, so it's fine, and you got that little edge around the button, so there's no pressure on there. It's just actually to hold it in place. So I did have to lengthen the wires for the button because I realized that once this is all on, this is going to go on here. So once this is all on and these wires have to go through Nomad's body, the light box is going to be up here. Well, in order for me to have enough wire to take this bottom section off of here when it comes time to change the batteries or recharge the batteries for the light box, I'm not going to have quite enough wire. So I went ahead and added just a little bit more to that. So that should work out just fine with that as well. So originally the light box here was going to go in using these dowels that were going to go through the side, through these holes. But then I realized that the dowels are going to end up pushing right up against these lenses. And so I figured I'm going to do something else. So what I decided to do is I cut out this piece of foam board right here in the same shape. And it's going to go down inside here. And it's actually going to sit on top of the green lenses right there. In fact, I had some of these bulbs too high. You can see where I had to remove them. You can see the hot glue remnants there. I had to lower the bulbs down so that this will sit further down because I'm a little limited on space on how much I can actually work with up here near the top. So once that's in place like this, I'm going to hot glue it in place, and then that'll make like a little shelf for the for this box to fit in. So I'm going to fit that in here, and I'll have to cut like a hole on the side of one edge so I can put all these wires through so they'll go down at the bottom. So I'll try to fit all this in here just to kind of give you an idea how that's going to sit in there. And then the other thing that does is it helps block the light from these green vents shining up into these vents, or the yellow and red area. So that'll kind of be a light blocker as well. So I was hoping to put the batteries up here so I could just take the top of Nomad's head off and just change the batteries or recharge the other ones, but this is fine. And I also needed a little bit of leeway of room here because I didn't realize it, but the bottom of Nomad's head has this lip that sticks out down here, and so I'm going to need a little bit of room for that too, to accommodate that. So yeah, so that's fine. And then I thought this was going to be sitting down a little too far, but no, it actually works just fine. Alright, so now let me try to get all this going in here, and then I'll try to get the wires fed in there, and then I got to figure out where I'm going to put the speaker. Alright, so getting quite a bit of work done now. So this is now in place, and I have it velcroed down. It's not like really tight, but there's some velcro on there just to hold it in place so it doesn't fall out if I tip it over sideways or whatever. And then you can see all the wires go down inside that little hole right there. And then for the speaker, I just mounted it down here. This is the bottom part of Nomad right here. So this is probably the best place to put it because first of all it's round and it's cone shaped exactly like the speaker is, but then I didn't want it just sitting on the actual plastic of Nomad because it's going to vibrate and stuff like that. That's pretty good speaker right there. So I just cushioned it with some pieces of foam board here on each of the little corners where you'd normally screw it into like your car door or whatever, and then just hot glued it in place, which also helps cushion it but also holds it in place. So it works pretty good. I've already tried it out, and it's going to be a good spot for it. Now the trick is to figure out where to put that microphone. Right now I have it right in the center right there, but that's still too close because that's going to be a direct, the speaker is going to go right up to it. Originally I was going to put it on the side, but it's still too loud. And in order to have it loud enough that you can hear it pretty good, because it's going to be muffled inside of Nomad once I put this top section on. So I already glued it in place, and there's really no place else to put it unless I move it to the top, but I've already, well, I don't know, maybe I can cut a slot in that foam board and bring it to the top, but maybe putting a piece of sponge or something on it to help muffle it might help it out. So I'll see if that works, but this is the trickiest part of the whole thing, is getting that perfect balance for the sound and the lights. Okay, well, gosh, leave it to me to screw something up. So in the process of trying to pull this off, now I shouldn't have hot glued this onto the bottom inside there. I don't know why I did that. I should have just taped it just to experiment to see, the distance between this and the speaker. So I was very carefully trying to pull this off, and I must not have been careful enough, and I think I stressed this out somehow and bent it and did something to it, because the next time I turned it on, it fried it. It fried this board. I smelled something burning electrical, and I was like, oh gosh, that's not good. And then I felt this thing was super, super hot. And then I tried it again because I thought maybe something was touching it, like this switch or something. And then it just fried it completely. There was smoke and everything and sizzling. Oh man, so I totally jacked up this board. So once again, Brian to the rescue. Thank you, Brian. I got in contact with him. I ordered another one of these boards, had it sent to his place, and he programmed it for me. I guess you have to program these. I didn't know that, but you actually have to program it. I didn't even notice there's a USB right here. So he programmed the new one for me. He's sending it to me, and then I will connect it to these wires, and thankfully that's just a plug-in right there. So once I get that replaced, I already cut a slot. You can see it right in there. See that slot? So I can put the new board through that slot right in there, and then I'm going to put it towards the top side of Nomad over there. And I'm just going to put it right up here somewhere near the top, because I think it'll be far enough of a distance from the speaker so that I can get the proper light flashing sequence that I want in here. And also that foam board is going to help muffle the sound a little bit, because I want it to be loud enough that you can hear it, but I want the microphone to be far enough away that I can get the proper blinking effects from this box. So hopefully I can get all that working once I get the new board, and then we'll hopefully get Nomad running. I was almost done too. Oh, God, I'm so mad that I did that. All right, well, more work, I guess. All right, I got the new board now. Thank you, Brian, very, very much. You can see he actually wrapped this one in that special tape so that I don't screw it up again. Oh my gosh. So I've just taped it to the top here. I just used a piece of electric tape and just very carefully and lightly put it there. But I think that's going to work. That's the furthest I can get it from the speaker, and I think that's going to work just fine. So the wires are fed through. So I think I can finally put Nomad completely together. I got the wires tidied up a little bit on the inside, and his head is ready to go right there. So let me get them all put together, and finally we can see what he looks like all together and working. All right, here he is, and he is all together finally after 5 months of trying to get everything all set up for him. He's massively huge. Well, he's life-size. You know, I'm going to measure him to see how big he is. I want to talk about this model a little bit after I demonstrate the voice and stuff. Now, I actually have the green lights going in here. It's just that the lights are so bright you can't even see them. So I'm going to turn the lights way down so we can see the lights when he talks and also his voice. I should also mention that when he does talk, that light is going to look white. So it is green. So if for some reason it just washes out on camera. Okay, here we go.
This is Nomad. My mission is non-hostile. Require communication. Can you leave your ship? I am programmed to destroy those life forms which are imperfect. These alterations will do so without destroying the vessel which surrounds them. It too is imperfect, but can be adjusted. Insufficient response. There was much taken from the other. It has changed since the point of origin. I am perpetual now. Yes, you are the creator. But Kirk, this sterilization procedure against your ship was unnecessary. I am Nomad. This primitive matter-antimatter propulsion system is the main drive. Inefficiency exists in the antimatter input valve. I will effect repair. Non sequitur, your facts are uncoordinated. You are from the third planet, a planet with one large natural satellite. The planet is called Earth.
I shall analyze error. Analyze error. Examining error. Error. Analyze error. Error. Faulty. Faulty. Error. Error. Faulty. Faulty.
Oh man, that is so cool. Brian added that explosion at the end. I was not expecting that. That was a huge surprise. So that was absolutely awesome. Okay, so I measured Nomad here. He's 39 inches tall, or like 3 feet 3 inches. So, you know, nobody's really sure how big the Nomad prop was. Unfortunately, Nomad did not survive. He was reused as a couple of other props. He was reused as the M5 computer. It was like a floating robot. It was in Requiem for Methuselah, and he was also used as the Romulan cloaking device. So, you know, they unfortunately cannibalized Nomad here, mainly his head, to be used for other props. So, unfortunately, the original prop doesn't exist. There is some pictures of Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner doing some kind of weird looking I don't know, like promotional pictures, and you can kind of see better the size of him. I think this model might be just a little bit smaller than the original Nomad, maybe by, I don't know, a few inches or a couple inches. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. And I was talking to the gentleman that made it. He said that he used to make a bigger one, but it was really expensive. Now, I can't remember what I talked about at the beginning of this video because that was filmed 5 months ago. And also, if there's some sharp jump cuts in this video, I apologize because I had to do some heavy editing because of all the stuff that had happened between then. But anyway, the gentleman that made this, I found this on eBay. I think I mentioned that. The seller was 3D Trekker, and he makes some really cool stuff. I bought some other stuff from him. He only had one of these. It was not cheap. I think I paid about $600 for this. It was not a cheap thing to buy, but it's also big. I mean, this probably took a long time for him to print. I mean, granted, if I had a 3D printer, I could probably make it for a fraction of the cost, but since I don't, this is what I got, and I'm actually very, very pleased with this. I mean, it looks really, really good when it's all together. The only things I can say that I'm not sure about accuracy-wise is the head here. This angle is a little sharp. I think on the original Nomad, it's not quite that sharp. It kind of comes down to about this level. And to be honest with you, I didn't even notice it for the first 2 or 3 weeks that I had it. And then the other thing is he accidentally glued, let's see, which greebly is it? This one over here. He accidentally glued this greebly on the wrong way. It's supposed to be the other way around. This bulbous thing should be down here, so it should be flipped over. I tried popping it off of there so I can flip it over, but it is glued on there solid, and I do not want to mess with it and accidentally break it. I've had enough issues trying to get everything working on this, but you know, it's really cool. Like I said, the lights get drowned out because I have to have some bright lights on here. But, you know, being 3D printed, it actually looks really good. I'm sure you can find this file somewhere. For those of you who have 3D printers, you can probably find it on Thingiverse or something like that. It may be free, or it may be just, you know, something that you don't have to spend a lot of money on. But I think, you know, overall this looks amazing. To print something this large, it took him a long time. In fact, when I bought it, he was still printing some of it. But, you know, I mean, hey, I think it's about the best Nomad I've ever seen. I'll activate Nomad again here in a minute just so that we can enjoy the voice again. But I wanted to tell you a story about something that happened to me about 25 to 30 years ago. I was at one of our Star Trek conventions here in town. We've had them since the late 70s, and I've been going practically every year, but the dealer's room was always the best place to go. Those of you who've gone to those conventions know that the dealer's room is where it's at, because you got all kinds of really cool stuff that you can find in those rooms. And before the internet, that was the only place you could find props and stuff like that. So I always made sure I saved all year long to bring enough money, because I never knew what I was going to find. Well, I was at this one table, and this guy had a full-size Nomad, and it was on the other side of the table. You know, you got the main stuff here, and then he's got another section back there. And I asked the guy, I said, just out of curiosity, I said, how much is your Nomad? And he looks right at me and says, more than you can afford. And I couldn't believe he said that. I just thought it was so rude. And I think he thought I was just a kid, probably didn't have any money, and or whatever. And I just kind of looked at him. I said, are you serious? He goes, yeah. And I said, how much is it? And he said I think it was $300, if I can recall, which was a lot back then. I mean, this is 25, 30 years ago. I said, 300, huh? And I pulled out my wallet and I started counting all these hundreds and twenties, and I brought $850 or $900 with me that year. And the look on his face, I said, yeah, I said, you know what, I only got $900 on me, so I guess I can't afford your $300 Nomad. And all of a sudden he got all apologetic. Oh, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't mean anything by that. And I was like, yeah, right. You know, he was totally serious about it. So, you know, I just kind of went off on him. I said, I can't believe you said that. You just ruined a sale. I said, granted, I haven't even seen what it looks like. Well, his buddy, his partner that was running that table, overheard the conversation and came over and he says, he goes, what? What's going on here? And I told him what his partner said, and he just gave him the most daggered look, like he couldn't believe he said it. And I said, yeah, I said, you know, I would have been interested in buying it. I said, but now, he goes, I'll let you see it if you want. And I said, no, I said, I'm not even interested in buying it now after what he said. So the convention was a 3-day convention. That occurred on the very first day. It was Friday. And so I'd go through the dealer's room throughout the weekend, because the merchandise changes as the dealers sell stuff. You know, they put more stuff out, so you always got to check and see what's new. And every time I walk by that table, that guy's like, oh, I'm really sorry. He goes, I'll sell you the Nomad if you want to. I was like, no, I said, even if I wanted to, I'm not interested now. I said, you kind of ruined it. And so on the last day, Sunday, it was everything was winding down and everybody was packing up. And I walked by that guy's table and he still had the Nomad there. And I looked at him, I said, you could have made a sale on day one. I said, I could have paid for your table because, you know, they have to pay for that rental space for their table. I said, I could have paid for your whole weekend. I said, but you kind of ruined it. I said, you know, sometimes you got to be careful who you say stuff like that to. I said, you don't really know who the person is. So anyway, ever since then, I've never seen another full-size Nomad. And so when this one popped up on eBay, and especially as good as it looked, I was like, yeah, I can't pass this up. So yeah, it may have been $600, but to me, it's something I've wanted for decades. I've wanted one of these for decades. And it's one of my favorite episodes from Star Trek. So anyway, I just thought I would share that story with you. All right, well, let me go ahead and close out by saying a big thank you, a huge, huge thank you to Brian for helping me out with this. He is the hero of the day for coming up with the electronics for this. Since the other guy, I don't know whatever happened to that other guy, but Brian really stepped up to the plate and really helped me out with this. So Brian, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for all the work that you've done for this thing. I mean, it's above and beyond. It really is, and it works so good, and it sounds so good. And also a big thank you to 3D Trekker. I don't even know who he is, but good work on this. And maybe if on eBay, if you see him, you can ask him if he can print you one of these if you're interested, and if you don't have a 3D printer. All right, well, having said all that, I'll let you hear his voice one more time, and then after that, that'll be it, and I'll see you on the next video.
This is Nomad. My mission is non-hostile. Require communication. Can you leave your ship? I am programmed to destroy those life forms which are imperfect. These alterations will do so without destroying the vessel which surrounds them. It too is imperfect, but can be adjusted. Insufficient response. There was much taken from the other. It has changed since the point of origin. I am perpetual now. Yes, you are the creator. But Kirk, this sterilization procedure against your ship was unnecessary. I am Nomad. This primitive matter-antimatter propulsion system is the main drive. Inefficiency exists in the antimatter input valve. I will effect repair. Non sequitur, your facts are uncoordinated. You are from the third planet, a planet with one large natural satellite. The planet is called Earth.
I shall analyze error. Analyze error. Examine error.